Hello everyone, Crow here, and welcome to another episode of GameThing. On this episode, I'm going to talk about Demon Attack for the Odyssey 2. Now, before I go any further, I want to mention that the only other version of Demon Attack I've played is for the Atari 2600. I haven't played the Intellivision version or the Atari 8-bit version, and I know that those games may be a little bit different, but seeing as how I've never really played those versions, and I've only played the Atari 2600 version, that's really the only version of this game I can compare it to. But how did I wind up with this game? Some of you may be asking. There's a video game store I go to occasionally, and I usually go throughout the whole store, and they usually have a bunch of Odyssey 2 games. And a couple months ago, I happened to see they had Demon Attack, and they wanted $15 for it. It was complete in box, had the manual and everything, and I wound up passing on it. And, you know, I go there every so often, I kept seeing Demon Attack there. And I keep, picking it up, should I buy this? $15, I don't know, and I'd wind up putting it back. A couple weeks ago, I finally picked it up along with Smithereens. And, I was like, I finally broke down, I gotta get this game. I picked it up mainly because I like Demon Attack on the Atari 2600, and for the fact that I had no other third-party games for the Odyssey 2. And as of recording this, this is the only third-party game I have for the Odyssey 2. And that kind of puts it into a special category, especially for me, because the box is not the same size as the box as the other Odyssey 2 games, so it kind of sticks out a little bit more. Also, the cartridge is more in line with the iMagic style type cartridge, rather than the regular Odyssey 2 cartridge that has the handle. So this cartridge is an Odyssey 2 game without a handle. Okay, so about the game. The premise of the game is about as simple as you can get. In fact, the title of the game is pretty much the entire game, Demon Attack. You have a ship or a turret that you can move left or right on the bottom of the screen, and these demons are coming down and attacking you. They're shooting at you. So you basically avoid their fire and shoot back and hit their ships. The game progressively gets tougher as you go on. The enemies get harder and harder, and the game eventually is over when you lose all your lives. Now, I know other versions of the game have boss battles, but this game, like the Atari 2600 version, does not have these boss battles. In fact, this version of the game is almost exactly like the Atari 2600 version, except with some downgrades, it seems. The most glaring difference is the fact that there are only 2 levels of demons attacking you, instead of 3 like in the Atari 2600 version. In addition to that, the graphics and the sound in the Atari 2600 version do seem a bit better in my opinion. But other than that, everything seems exactly the same, including exactly the same 10 game variations. And of those 10 game variations, 6 of them are 2-player and 4 of them are single-player. And the game variations are things like, starting off on an easier level where the demons don't split it in half right away, and it's easier to attack them at first. In addition to having your bullets just fly straight ahead or follow the movements of your ship. But the 2 most interesting game variations are the last 2, wherein the first and the second player are alternating controls of the ship every 4 seconds. I just thought that was kind of unusual because I don't think any 2 players play the same game the same way. So, like, player 1 could be going after one demon, and all of a sudden control gets thrown to player 2, who wants to all of a sudden go for a different demon. And, it could be very easily to get destroyed in a game just because one player does something the other player wouldn't have done. So what did I like about the game? The game is really fun, and it is really playable. I also like the variety of games options it gives you. And ultimately, this would have to be one of my favorite Odyssey 2 games. And I also like on the back of the instruction booklet, you have the Demon Attack Proof of Purchase. with the demon having the sign that says tough. I thought that was hilarious, and I'm willing to bet that the other versions of this game, the instruction manual has that, but I don't have the instruction manuals for any other version of the game, so I don't know if that's fact or not, but just the fact that it's on there, I think is pretty funny. But here's what I didn't like about the game. To me, it just seems like the Atari 2600 version is superior, and if you have that version of the game, I'd almost prefer to play that version. The sound is better, the graphics are better, and the animation of your ship blowing up is way better in the Atari 2600 version than it is in this version. Even the animation of the demons forming on screen, while it's still cool in the Odyssey 2 version, it just seems a lot better in the Atari 2600 version. It may just be the sound, or it may just be me, but to me, I mean, it's cool in the Odyssey 2 version, but it's cooler in the Atari 2600 version. Again, I can't speak for any other version of the game because I really haven't played them. The other thing I didn't like, and this is true for the Atari 2600 version too, is that in the two-player modes, when one player dies, it is not the other player's turn. The players alternate turns in between rounds instead of in between deaths. And I find that very unusual because if, for some reason, the first player can't get past the first round, they'll use all their lives up before the second player has a chance to play. And it just seems like kind of an unusual way to have the game set up. Well, that about wraps things up. While this may be one of the better games in the Odyssey 2 library, for Demon Attack itself, I think that there are better versions on different consoles. And I say that only because I think the Atari 2600 version is a bit better than this. You know, but if you've got an Odyssey 2, and you run across Demon Attack for the Odyssey 2 for a decent price, you know, why not pick it up and add it to the collection? Otherwise, you're really not missing all that much, especially if you have the Atari 2600 version. So with that, this has been Crow, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.